Ever get that feeling like houses don't look quite how they used to? Like back in the day, everyone had that friend with a sprawling ranch house, hallways going on forever.
Oh, absolutely. You practically needed a map to get from the living room to the kitchen.
Exactly. But these days, it seems like those endless hallways are going the way of the dodo bird. The average American home is shrinking. And it's not just about people wanting less space, it's like a whole rethink on how we use it.
It's really interesting, right? It's like this perfect storm brewing. You've got economic forces at play, people's lifestyles are changing, and even the psychology of how we live in our homes is evolving.
So we decided to really dig into this, and we found this article from Business Insider that claims hallways are straight up vanishing from new homes. They even have a catchy name for it, the Tetris effect. Basically, it's like builders are playing architectural Tetris, trying to cram as much living space as possible into the smallest footprint.
And they're not far off. I mean, just look at the numbers. The average size of a new single-family home is the smallest it's been in, get this, almost 15 years. So something's definitely going on here.
Smaller houses, you'd think that'd mean lower prices, right?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Because according to Zillow, housing prices have shot up by a staggering 82.9% since 2015.
82.9%. So much for affordable housing. No wonder builders are under pressure to get creative with their layouts.
Exactly, and that's where this whole Tetris effect, as Business Insider calls it, comes into play. They're basically eliminating those dedicated hallways, or what architects call circulation spaces, and merging them with other rooms to make the most of every single square inch.
So instead of a boring old hallway leading to a bedroom, you might have like a built-in bookshelf or a little reading nook.
Exactly. It's all about multifunctionality. Imagine you walk out of the living room and instead of a hallway, bam, you've got a sleek built-in bar. Or that awkward space between the bedrooms. That's now a cozy reading nook with a window seat.
Okay, some of those ideas are kind of cool, I have to admit. But doesn't it seem a little weird to lose that separation between spaces? Like imagine trying to cook dinner while your partner's on a video call in the next room, which is basically like 5 feet away.
Yeah, that's the potential downside of open concept taken to the extreme, right? It's great to have that flow, but finding that balance between togetherness and privacy can get tricky, especially when you're talking about smaller homes.
Seriously. Makes you wonder if we're sacrificing our sanity in the name of efficiency?
It's a valid concern for sure, and it's something to keep in mind as we look at how some builders are putting these ideas into practice. Speaking of which, that Business Insider article we mentioned highlights a company called Highland Homes. They've been building houses in Texas for almost 40 years now, and they churn out a crazy number of homes each year, something like 4,000.
Wow, 4,000 homes a year. If anyone knows how to play architectural Tetris, it's got to be them.
Right. And what they're doing is really interesting because it might be a glimpse into the future of home design, not just in Texas, but maybe across the country.
So walk us through it. What kind of Tetrising are these Highland Homes folks up to?
Well, let's take a look at one of their newest floor plans, brand new, for 2024, the Palermo. It's got 4 bedrooms, a game room, a study, they even squeezed in an entertainment room, all within about 4,500 square feet.
Okay, so not exactly a tiny house, but I'm guessing it's the layout that's really different.
Exactly. They've minimized hallways as much as possible, and the rooms just flow right into each other. Like instead of having a separate formal dining room, they incorporated a dining area right into this open concept kitchen and living space. It's designed for how people actually live today.
Sounds like they're really maximizing every square inch. But what about their older homes? Did they have that same vibe?
No way. If you compare the Palermo to one of their floor plans from back in 2018, like their floor plan 271, it's like night and day. The 271 is a single story with all the basics, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a family room, but it's got hallways connecting practically every single room.
So we've gone from hallway labyrinth to wide open spaces in just a few years. But I gotta ask, is this just about saving money or is there more to it?
It's definitely not just about cost cutting, though that's definitely a factor. But there's this whole other side of it, this huge shift towards multi-generational living that's changing how houses are designed.
You're so right. It seems like everyone I know either has a parent living with them or is about to move in with their own parents. It's like we're going back to the future or something.
It's not just anecdotal either. There was a study back in 2021 that found a crazy statistic. Get this. 1 in 4 Americans were living in multi-generational households. 1 in 4, that's huge.
Wow, 1 in 4, that is wild. But how does that play into the whole vanishing hallways thing we've been talking about?
Well, think about it. When you've got multiple generations living under one roof, those traditional layouts with all those little separate rooms just don't really work right. You need that flexibility, that open flow between spaces.
It's all about adaptability, being able to change things up depending on who needs what space and when, right?
Exactly. And it's not even just about having enough bedrooms. It's about making sure those spaces can serve different purposes throughout the day. Maybe the living room becomes a play area for the kids in the afternoon, then transforms into a quiet space for grandma to relax in the evening. It's all connected.
So we're not just talking about square footage anymore, but how that space can be used in multiple ways, kind of like those transformers, but for houses.
Exactly. And it's fascinating to see how builders are picking up on this trend. Remember that Highland Homes company we were talking about? The one with the Tetris-like floor plans?
Yeah, the Texas folks, what were they doing again?
Well, they had this one floor plan from 2020, the 608. It was specifically designed for multi-generational living.
Oh, right, the one with the flexible suite upstairs.
That's the one. And it's a perfect example of how they're using design to create that open, connected feeling, but with enough flexibility built in to accommodate different living arrangements. Like dune stairs, there are almost no hallways, everything just flows.
And upstairs is where they put that flexible suite, right? The one that could be a guest room or an extra living space.
Exactly. It's got its own bathroom, so it feels separate, but it's still connected to the main living area upstairs.
So you could have the grandparents stay there, or maybe a boomerang kid could have their own space.
Exactly. Or even a home office or a guest suite. The possibilities are kind of endless, which is the whole point. It's all about having options and being able to adapt as your family's needs change.
It's pretty amazing how these design changes are a direct reflection of how we're living now, with more blended families and people working from home and all that. But it does make you think, if we're constantly optimizing for efficiency and flexibility, are we losing something else in the process? Like, are we trading in those quirky, unique things that give a home personality for these super efficient but kind of sterile spaces?
That's a really good question, and it's not an easy one to answer. Because on the one hand, you've got this push towards clean lines, minimalism, everything has its place, no clutter. But then you think about those older homes, the ones with all the built-in shelves and little nooks and crannies, and yeah, they might not have been perfectly designed, but they had character.
Totally. Remember those houses with the window seats tucked into the hallways? Or that weird space under the stairs that people would turn into a reading nook? It's like those things weren't just design choices. They were part of what made the house feel like a home.
Exactly. They invited you to interact with the space in a different way. And I think that's something we need to be mindful of as we see these new trends popping up. It's not just about cramming in as many bedrooms and bathrooms as you can fit. It's about how the space makes you feel.
Right. Like, does it spark joy? Does it feel warm and inviting? Or does it just feel kind of cold and impersonal?
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, this trend towards smaller, more intentional living will force us to be a little more thoughtful about the stuff we bring into our homes in the first place.
It's like, instead of having a huge house filled with stuff you never use, you end up with a space that really reflects you and what you care about.
Right. It's about quality over quantity. And who knows, maybe it'll even help people be a little less materialistic.
Now, that'd be a revolution.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder, will future generations even know what to do with a hallway if they ever come across one?
Maybe they'll turn them into mini art galleries or line the walls with bookshelves. Or, and hear me out on this one, maybe they'll just use them to walk from one room to another.
You know what? That's kind of a radical idea these days, embracing the simple functionality of a hallway. Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the ever-changing world of home design. It's been fascinating to see how everything from the economy to changing lifestyles to, yes, even architectural Tetris is reshaping the places we call home.
And who knows what creative solutions we'll come up with next. Maybe someday we'll be reminiscing about the good old days of open concept living.
Now that's a thought. For those of you listening, we want to hear from you. Are you team open concept all the way, or do you secretly yearn for a good old-fashioned hallway? Head over to our website and let us know. And as always, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.